clearly I need to update my presentation because my name is no longer Sara Todd.
Yes.
I am officially a Holton after 12 years, so. Little bit about us. We've been doing this Homestead thing this is our 9th season. It all happened accidentally, so very happy accident in my opinion, but we've done a lot of different things throughout the years. We started with 6 outlaw chickens. We used to live in Ankeny, so they didn't allow chickens at the time, and that's kind of what made us buy the farm and move out. So chickens are the gateway farm animal, as you've probably heard. From chickens, it turned into turkeys, ducks, geese, quail, and then once I had reached all of the poultry, we got a pig. We've done market gardening, we've managed apple orchards. I feel like we casted our net very wide to see what we liked. Ultimately, beekeeping is where our heart and soul is. Plus, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lot easier to have shelf-stable honey that you sell at the market every week instead of produce that goes bad after market. So that's a pro. So just some more photos of us over the years. Oh yeah, we had meat rabbits too. That was fun. So, like I said, beekeeping is definitely where our passion is. That was actually the real accident. I just wanted 2 little backyard hives. This photo right there, that's what I wanted. But now we have nearly 900 hives. So,
Do you have a difficulty counting? Or
luckily, I'm not in charge of the counting. That's Tyler's department. So as the years have gone on, we transitioned from a hobby to it's now both of our full-time jobs. So that's a pretty big accomplishment, I feel like. And let me tell you, it's not something that happens overnight. I mean, it can if you want to take out a loan and stuff, but we weren't ready for that. So over the years, we've transitioned into this being our full-time thing. This is Tyler's 2nd year of this being full-time for him, and I think this might be my 4th year. So yeah, big leaps, but it all seems to be working out. So like I said, I just wanted those 2 little backyard hives. Someday I'll write a book about this, I'm sure, but I actually broke my foot because I learned that high heels and the farm don't actually go together. So I had a broken foot when it was time to install packages, and I had crutches and casts and all that. So Tyler had to give me a piggyback ride out to the bees, and he had to install the packages, and then he just absolutely fell in love with the idea of these bugs in a box, and he couldn't believe all the work they were doing in there so quickly, and he just became so fascinated with them. So here we are. And he did work for, if you guys are familiar, Spring Valley Honey Farms. He worked for them for several years, and we've just kind of made the transition. So it's been a fun journey. Last year, we got our own facility, which was another huge hurdle. We had been renting kitchen space to do all of our value-added products that we're going to talk about here shortly. But for Iowa, you have to have a licensed facility that you're using in order to add anything to your honey. So finally got our own building. I had to do an entire kitchen build out last year from January all the way till August. It took that whole time. I was my own contractor. I will never do that again. I also realized that nobody wants to do the job the way that you want them to do it, but that's a whole nother story. So that's my big accomplishment, getting the kitchen licensed. And right now, at one point, I think I had 6 employees under me, but you guys know what the world is like right now. The economy has changed a lot, and things are a little tough, so we had to tighten our belt. Right now, it's currently just Tyler is the beekeeper primarily. I'll help him when I can, but if I'm being honest, I don't have that much time to devote to it like I would like. And then Amy and I run everything else. And then her daughter Izzy is a big help, but she can't be on payroll yet. So we're breaking her in for a couple years. So let's dive into some value-added products. So you guys have made honey and beeswax. Who had a good year this year? Did we make some honey? Awesome, yeah. And when you make honey, you make wax. It might not be as much, but you have some. And that's really exciting. So obviously, you can sell your honey, right? So every beekeeper has their regular old honey that they put in a jar, and you can either give away as awesome Christmas gifts that everyone probably takes for granted, or you can sell at farmer's market. You can even get into grocery stores, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to tell you the first thing that's going to add value to your product is your label, right? Because how many times have you been to a farmer's market or a flea market, or even like, I swear honey sold in some of the weirdest places, right? And you see it and like, it might not even have a label on it. And then that just makes me sad because it's like, okay, this beekeeper went to all of this work. It took how many months, all these, the bees, all the equipment, and like they don't even have the pride to put their name on the jar. So label, I'm going to say, is the first thing to adding value to your product. And we know how it is. Let's think of any other product you're shopping for. A lot of times, yes, it's cost that you're looking, but sometimes it's just like, what are you drawn to? And so maybe that is what draws someone to your honey versus someone else's honey at the market or someone else's honey on the grocery store shelf. So these are the labeling requirements. You can get them off the Iowa Department. It's not the DEA. what Department of, hang on, it'll come to me. Not the DEA. So let's talk about some labeling tips. You want it to be unique, maybe to your theme or your family or your area, something that kind of is relevant to you. Obviously, make it easy to read. I'm going to tell you, I don't have a picture. When we first started, we did clear labels. And at the farmer's market, when the sun was shining through them, beautiful. It was so appealing, drew you in. Then I learned when you go to grocery store shelves, there's no sunlight, there's no backlight on the shelf, and no one could read our label. And when we got into our first Hy-Vee, it was in our area, and we couldn't believe that our honey wasn't selling because we had a lot of customers in the area, and we didn't understand what the problem was. Well, the problem was they couldn't read the label, and they couldn't even see it because it was clear and awful. So we went to the drawing board, changed the label, and like that, it was started going off the shelf. So could be something as simple as they can't read your label. And that's kind of what, so clear versus, backed labels, that kind of stuff to think about. And there was a time for a while where I was torturing myself because we had honey that we would sell at the farmer's market and then honey that was specifically for grocery store shelves. Great in theory, didn't want to waste labels, but like one label for everything is way easier. So some other things to put on your label, you could. Your story, your mission, how to reorder, how to decrystallize, because that's a huge issue, right? Recipes, education. You can put all kinds of stuff on your label. Obviously, my label isn't 4 pages long, so I had to simplify things, and I put a QR code on my label, which does take them right to our website. Recipe ideas, reordering, how to decrystallize, honey to sugar conversion, all kinds of good stuff right there with that QR code. So
when did you start that? You didn't have that last time.
I didn't. I think I did that in 23, the beginning of 23. So yeah, that was a good addition for us. Also, this is super casual, so if you have any questions at any time, please ask. All right, now we're going to talk about altered honey. So this is obviously another level of value, right? So altered honey, any honey that has anything added to it, which we kind of touched on. For Iowa, you There are some loopholes. The farmer's market, if you're selling direct to consumer, you can add flavoring or do some of these different things that I'm going to talk about. Your label does have to be a little different if you're not using a licensed facility. So you have to state that on your label. But that would be a nice way. Does anyone do farmers markets right now? Okay. Anyone considering doing farmers markets? Yeah. So then that would be a nice way to kind of, let's say, test the waters, right? So you make a product, you don't want to spend all this money licensing a facility. Let's see if it sells first. So farmers market is the way. And this is actually a newer change of rules. I want to say somewhere around 2020 this changed.
Cottage.
The cottage food law, yeah.
I run off of that, so.
Because that was not an option when we started. So we just...
You mean that you couldn't even do it to the farmer's market?
Correct.
without license? Okay.
Yep. So we just dove right in to get our license right away. We didn't have the opportunity that you guys have now. So take advantage of that. Because that's another thing too, right? Beekeeping is already expensive. So then when you want to start diving into all these other things, it can cost a lot of money up front. So try to keep it as inexpensive as possible. And I'll give you some more tips on that, but that's a big one. I mean, if you can just test it out at a farmer's market and see if it's going to sell or not, do that.
As long as you don't sell it third party,
Yes.
you're good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a direct sale, you're good.
Correct. So you can't put it on grocery store shelves. You can always do that with pure honey, but adulterated honey, you can't do grocery store shelves. I don't even think you can technically rent a booth at, some of those consignment shop type places. I don't think that counts either because technically there's a third party. So.
I donate honey to a non-profit organization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about that, right?
But pure honey.
Pure honey.
You never have to worry about pure honey.
Okay.
So.
This is if you add anything.
Yeah, this
Just
is.
if you ask.
Yep. Yep. Pure honey and even pure creamed honey is okay because you're not adding anything besides honey.
So even in the third party scenario?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So pure honey, no problems for Iowa. So that's
The other thing is he's not selling it, he was
Right.
donating.
right. Right.
They're selling it.
Okay,
Yeah, they're selling it for,
a
donation.
fundraiser kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's got your label on it.
The clear jar.
I put your label on it, at least you can mention that it's your honey.
Can't trace it back.
yeah. So no worries about pure honey. So other things when you start adding to the honey, you need to list the ingredients. So regardless of licensed facility or not, you have to list your ingredients and it's in the order in which they're present, right? So your first ingredient, more than likely, is going to be honey, I would hope. And then, after that, so for example, I don't know if you can read this picture, but it says ingredients, honey, and jalapenos. That's it. So, but you do have to list those out. So.
And there's a certain writing you have to have for that cottage law you have to have on there too. It's on mine, but I can't tell. It's produced in a home kitchen.
Yeah, not a
or
license.
Something like that.
It says this product was made in a home kitchen and not subject to state inspection.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and doesn't that have to be on the front also?
That has to
And
be on there, yeah.
mm-hmm.
And then your ingredients too.
Okay. Yeah. And another thing, I don't know, tell me if this is required or not. Do you have to keep a logbook?
No.
No? Okay. So for non-licensed, that's another thing you don't have to do. But for us, we have to keep a logbook of all of our batches of flavors. And then that way, if an ingredient we ever used was recalled, then we have record of it and can do those processes also. And even if it's not required, I still think it's a good idea to maybe kind of keep a log of your flavors, your ingredients, that kind of stuff.
That jalapeno on it, do you have to can that? Or?
Nope, so it's still shelf stable. For our creamed honeys, we just do like freeze-dried fruit powders or dried herbs. So yeah, you never want to add moisture.
So you're not adding real jalapenos, it's,
I mean, they are real jalapenos, but they're dried. Yeah, correct. They're not fresh. Yeah, I would never add fresh to your honey because that moisture content could cause fermentation or bacteria.
Because it shows jalapenos on there, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, jalapeno powder. So another pro tip I'll give you is cute cells, and it just sometimes it's just so funny to me. So this stupid little jar here, $5, right, for like 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces of honey. I think I did the math one time. It's like $21 a pound. So if you want top dollar, this is the perfect time of year too. These little jars, tie a little dipper on it. Everybody wants this dipper. They're never gonna use it, but they want it. So, and I'll put like a cute little label on this one, says you're the bee's knees. You know, cute cells, small, I don't know why, small little cute things. We do like our flavors also. So this one's chocolate. So other products using honey, I mean, there's so many. Over the years, I've played with a lot. I, again, cast that net wide and then figure out what works, kind of reel it in. I've had to reel it in a lot, especially now that it's just me and Amy doing things. But, you know, in the beginning, I did honey healing salves, I did sugar scrubs, I did honey lavender goat milk soap with honey. Yeah, well, yeah, I said honey in it. Anyways, honey butter has been a good one this year that we've done, and we do cinnamon honey butter too, you know, Texas Roadhouse. What else? Oh, my latest one, which I'm almost regretting making, is all the rave right now is tallow for skincare. So it's whipped tallow and honey. I've got a body and a facial cream. This little jar is $29, and everyone talks about how good of a price that is. And I'm thinking like, oh, what were you paying? Wow. So
Really good for you.
that's very good for me. Yes, very good for me. If they're like, oh, $29, that's super cheap. Yes.
How do you come up with your pricing?
A lot of it is based on the time, the packaging. So I'll structure it on, okay, how much does it cost me to make it, right? Jar, lid, label, time, ingredients, all of that. How do you even begin to, right? I know. So that's my huge factor. I want a 25 to 50% markup on top of that, because also in there for us, we do a lot of wholesale and we do a lot of retail. So I have to have room in there to have wholesale prices and still make enough money that it's worth it, right? So what else have I done? What else do I have on here? So yeah, we've done infused honeys. We've done our creamed honeys, flavored creamed honeys. Hot honey has been all the rave lately, so that was a fun one to do. Even honey sticks. So even if we're just going to talk about value added for plain honey, right now we've got, okay, these are just a few options that I brought, but having size options is helpful. And then we want to talk about price per pound. Oh my gosh, this right here, I think it costs like 4 cents a stick to have these made. So we'll turn in a 50-pound bucket and get like 1,400 or some crazy amount of honey sticks. And I do mark these up substantially. I'm probably one of the highest in my area for honey sticks. I charge 50 cents a piece. A lot of people will wholesale these for like 14 cents or something like that. So, I mean, there's a ton of wiggle room on here. Even when I wholesale them, I wholesale them for 25 cents a piece. And those people turn around and sell them for $1. So, like, there's tons of room on this. And, like, I don't know, is this even an ounce? This is tiny. So,
Not even an ounce.
yeah, tiny. but there's a lot of options just in having size options.
I
So
sell mine for 1 for a quarter or 5 for $1, and it's still
yeah,
great profit.
great profit. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a mess. You don't put your own straws, do you?
Oh no. Oh no.
No, they go to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Is it Honey Acres? Is that who you do?
Who is it?
I thought mine was Minnesota, but maybe it is.
Sorry,
Yeah, so there's,
You send them your honey,
yeah, I send a bucket and then,
they make whatever they can out of that bucket.
yeah, you could send them a barrel. They have a facility to process whatever you bring them.
They at least want a 5-gallon pail for sure.
Yes.
You know, 'cause they don't wanna
That's
deal with
the minimum.
minimum for
Is
stuff.
that a biodegradable straw then, or you just put it in a
No,
coffee
it's just
cup?
straw.
Unfortunately, it's not, so I don't feel great about that, but yeah.
So, I mean, what do you, just squeeze it out?
Yeah, so you just pop the end open and it just squeezes out or runs right out, yeah.
I like those pixies
For
too.
the kids?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
See, a lot of adults or women, they'll put them in their purse and just put it in their coffee, just open it up
Yeah,
and
that's a
squeeze it
good
right in their
idea, too.
coffee.
Yep.
Carry it in their purse, so.
Yep. And this has been like all the rave in the workout scene lately, like a natural pre-workout, so.
Honey Acres.
It is Honey Acres. Okay. I didn't know that was Wisconsin, but yes. So, Honey Acres if you want to get your own honey sticks. I would never in a million years recommend you buying the equipment and doing it yourself.
It's a mess.
It is.
Haven't you tried it?
No, I won't. I just already know. I don't have the patience. It's a mess. I'm also, fun fact, I hate being sticky. So, yeah, I'm in the wrong industry. Okay, so some things using beeswax, right? So right away, you're adding value to your beeswax just by harvesting and filtering it. Some people will sell unfiltered wax, and then there's just a huge price jump for filtered wax. So that right there, adding value. You can do ready-to-use blocks. Right here, we have a picture of ours. Our friend makes silicone molds and stuff, so we got a little fancy and have our logo on our blocks. But
So how do you filter it? Like cheesecloth or?
yeah, honestly, cheesecloth works. A lot of the pre-filtering happens.
That initial?
Yeah, in the initial melting. So Tyler will, render it down into like huge blocks. A lot of it kind of floats or falls in there naturally. So that kind of gets rid of the first layer. And then we have a big melting tank that we put those blocks in. And I'm kidding you, I have not found a better way in all of these years. I just have a little melting pot with cheesecloth over the top. So then it gets filtered one last time. And if I'm being honest, way back in the beginning when I was still making stuff in my kitchen, I would filter beeswax with a pantyhose. So we've upgraded for sure. But the cheap way and to get started, pantyhose, super cheap. I would clip it to the pot. So as it melted, all of the crap stayed in the pantyhose. You could throw that away and not feel bad about it. And just like a double boiler on your stove. And that's how I would do beeswax I think I did that for like the first 3 or 4 years. So you can get away with that for a long time. Okay, so beyond beeswax, some other things, obviously candles, right? Everyone loves a good beeswax candle. And I tell you, once you start burning beeswax candles, you don't want to go back because there's just something about them. So for the holidays, I brought you guys some samples of our fir trees. These are just molds from, I think, Man Lake. So anyone can go get these. The molds are a little expensive off of some of these big beekeeping sites, but I'm going to tell you, they're worth it. The quality's there. They hold up. They're really good. I've also bought molds from Amazon and stuff like that. They're fine. They work for a while, but ultimately they need replaced a lot faster than some of these other molds. Adding color is fun too. You can get really carried away really easily with all of the color options. Yes, yes. So, I mean, you can get
What do you use for color?
like a wax chip almost, and so then it just melts in with your wax, and a little does go a long way, so that's nice. But everything's a base of yellow, right? So you kind of gotta know your color wheel. You're never gonna get white. You're never gonna get some of these colors that
You
people.
don't know which color is gonna give you the green when you put the yellow beeswax.
Yeah, blue and yellow. Yeah.
Red and yellow make orange.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've learned a lot of things about the color wheel. So a couple of things with my candles. We do like the free mold candles, like I have here. Also, people are always compelled to they want to recycle, right? They want to do a good thing, and that's awesome. Unfortunately, with our licensing, I can't reuse the jar for the flavored stuff. So I don't want it to go to waste. They don't want it to go to waste. So I turn it into a repurposed jar candle. So now this is a free jar because I've got it returned, and I sell this for $8. Easy peasy. Also, if you think about, okay, this is a half pound of wax. I sell it for $9. This is not a half pound of wax. It might be $8. And cotton wick does not cost a lot in there. So yeah, you have some time invested, but the markup, right? This one I sell for $16. No way that it's a half pound either. So you can get some good markup on candles versus just the cost of wax. So another thing, and it took me several years to get here, so I'm going to give you my secrets. My first rule, never send anything out the door without your name on it. Right? Because we work hard. We want people to know this is what we did. And then if it's gifted or if it's donated and then they love it, then they know how to find us, right? So that's kind of my rule. I don't send anything out the door without our name on it. But I was thinking, how the heck do we put our name on a candle? So then we started keeping the wicks a little longer and tying our tag onto it. So this has our name, website, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. But then it has some valuable information on here too, because another hard part about being a beekeeper is you always have to be educating on your products, right? We always have to talk about, is crystallized honey bad? We also have to talk about, what is that film on the beeswax, right? You guys know the bloom that naturally happens. So sometimes if our candles sit for a while, especially if they're in someone else's retail store, I'm not there to stand there and say, oh no, a bloom is totally natural. You can wipe it off. You can heat it up if you want, if you don't like it. But some people really like it, I'm not there to stand there and say all those things. So I make sure that my tag does. So that's kind of another rule I've done for myself, especially as we've stepped into wholesale pretty heavily. What do I want my customers to know when I'm not standing there to say it? So especially the crystallized thing that we talk about, that's something that I try to put on the labels. Also, how many times do you guys hear, is your honey raw? Is it natural? Is it unfiltered? I just put it all on the label. Think of every question you could be asked or ask and try and put it on the label. Okay. Any beeswax candle questions at all? All right.
Anybody else? Anybody does candles?
Do you? So, okay, I'll give you a couple of tips too if you're going to dive into candles or you've never done it before. Beeswax is a harder wax, so it takes more to melt it, right? Higher temps to melt it. So you have to have a square braided wick, and then that will help. That's what you need to melt the candle. So, of course, you can get all of this on those big beekeeping websites that I talked about, Man Lake, Better Bee, things like that. And
Most of them tell you this takes this wick.
Yes,
It'll tell you which wick number to use.
and pay attention to that.
So I made bee candles once and they only burn that far. That's why.
That's why. That's why. Yeah, the wick is extremely important for beeswax, and not only that it's square braided, but there's different thicknesses also. So the diameter of your candle needs to match the correct wick size. Otherwise, you're going to get the tunneling, or it might not burn at all like you have experienced. So that is something also, if you guys ever want to dive in, you have questions, like I'm on social media, email me, whatever. I will help you with that. But yes, if you buy your molds from a beekeeping website, they're going to tell you what wick diameter you need for that. So it's very important. And unfortunately, they're not all the same. So if you get a whole bunch of different molds, you're going to have a whole bunch of different wick sizes. But also as you learn and see it in person, then you can start to go on Amazon and these other places where they sell molds, and you just know like what size wick you need. So hope that helps. But there's my pro tip. You need square braided wick. So some other products that we make using beeswax. We do the beeswax wraps. Bees wrap is what we call them. That's the fabric food preservation alternative to saran wrap. Those are really cool, but man, they're a mess to make. So I've tried a million different ways, back from when I was making stuff in my kitchen to like now I have a more commercialized facility. But either way, it still sucks to make, which is why I charge a lot for those. Yeah, I mean, I've seen, I don't know if it was like YouTube videos or what, but they'll like grade the beeswax over a grater and then like melt it in the oven and then on a cookie sheet. And so I tried all that, right? Don't do that. I ruined a cookie sheet and a grater, and I didn't even get good wax wrap. So don't do that. If that's something you want to play with, I actually sacrificed a griddle, an electric griddle, to that. So it keeps the fabric warm, and I just use a paintbrush with already wet wax, and that has been the easiest way. But they are a pain in the butt. I will never lower my prices on those. They are. No. I charge $18 for a set of 3.
And they're, what are they, 6x6?
No, they are bigger. So I do fat quarters is what I start out with. So what is that? Probably like that.
Half a yard.
Yeah. And then I will cut, like one fat quarter makes one set. So
Okay.
I cut it in half, and then one is the large, and then the other one gets cut in half. So then that makes 2 small ones. 3 pieces. Yeah.
That fat.
Do
Yeah.
you sell a lot of that?
I do. In fact, it's on my make list this week, and I'm dreading it. Yeah, I do. I don't know. We got into the Des Moines market a couple years ago, the downtown market, and that's where all the, let me say this nicely, all the hippies are, and so they know what that is, and they love to buy it, and I think that's great and wonderful. I'm glad I can provide that for them, but man, I hate making it, so.
But they will pay the money,
Yeah,
and they're reusable.
they are for many years, so it is good. It kind of maybe like cancels out that I'm putting plastic into the world. Maybe. Some other products we do, I'm big into vintage cast iron, and I use cast iron in every time I'm cooking. So we started making a cast iron touch-up stick, and then other people were interested in it. So now that's something I make and sell. Doggy paw wax is another one. Touch-up stick. Yeah, so like if you get a little rust spot or something, then that's like an easy,
You can seal it with that.
yeah, can seal it with that really quick. Yeah. Doggy paw wax, and then another big one we sell a lot of is a lotion bar. So instead of liquid lotion, it's a hard lotion that rubs on. It's more manly too. I always sell the guys on that, so. And of course, lip balm, right? Like that's one of the first things people do with a little bit of beeswax. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's the evolution of my lip balm label. You know, you got to start somewhere. So for a long time, we were always printing our own labels. And I highly recommend that. Like when you're first getting out there, save money, print your own labels. In fact, like I still do some things to save money. Like we have really high quality labels now, and they're not printed by us. But one of the things we did right away to save money is we have all these flavors of our creamed honey, and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to do like a label for each flavor. And a minimum order for them is like you have to get 125 labels, and it's like somewhere around $200 for a minimum order, right? And so if you had to do that for every single flavor, like you're not making money. So we did a generic flavored creamed honey label that has all of our information on it, says what the product is, and then a separate flavor label. So for a long time, like if you guys remember that jalapeno one, that was a label that I printed myself. So I would print the top labels, and then that also allowed me to come up with whatever crazy concoction I wanted to, just print my own label with the ingredients, throw it on there. Now we have evolved where our top labels are printed professionally also, but
So we put the ingredients in.
yeah, so all my ingredients are with the flavor label. Yep, and then this just has all of our contact information and a little blurb about creamed honey, because people always ask what it is. Does it have dairy in it? Does it need refrigerated? All of that. So put that on the label. For our grocery store shelf flavored creamed honey, so I have 4 flavors that have front-facing labels because this just wouldn't work on a grocery store shelf, right? Because no one could see the flavor. So like our top sellers that go into grocery stores, we do have front-facing labels. So this is the lemon, has all the information on the front instead of the lid. But that's how we were able to save money for a long time. Same with the infused. I did the same thing with the infused honey, put the flavor on the lid, had a generic infused label. This is one I have in grocery stores. It's our garlic infused, so it does have everything on the front. But that's what I would recommend when you're getting started. Grab bags has been a really fun one for us. This idea came to us, I don't know, gosh, maybe like 6 years ago now. But when you're making different products and stuff, and you maybe have like 1 or 2 of a flavor left, and you just are sick of looking at it and you want it gone, or maybe you've changed your label and you don't want the last few old label stuff mixed in with your new one, whatever the reason is that you want it gone, we have come up with grab bags. So we have a $5 and $10 option for grab bags where I'll bundle some of this stuff that I just want out of my life. And people love the surprise and the mystery. So it's an all black bag. They can't open it. We have it like heat sealed at the top, so there's no peeking. But these grab bags fly off the shelf too, because it's a good deal for them and it's great for me. That product is leaving. And
You're still making something from it.
yes, exactly.
Pitching it.
Still, yes. I'm not pitching it. And also, like, some really good feedback I've gotten is that people have tried products that they would have not normally bought, or flavors that they wouldn't have normally bought, and then they fall in love with it. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. But that's been a lot of fun too.
So you sell those on your website or in the store?
Both. Yep. I'll take them to farmers markets or these holiday markets. They're on our website. They're in our little storefront. Some more taper candles are insane right now. I don't know why everybody wants taper candles all of a sudden, but
It's your holiday table.
yeah. I used to think they were fun.
They're not the dipping ones, they're just the
No, I don't dip them, but God bless the beekeepers who do. Like, those are so beautiful, but that is not for me. This was I think there's like 8 in the mold. Now the mold's like $110, but you can do 8 at a time. I think I have like 6 or 7 of these molds now because the volume, I just couldn't keep up, so I would just keep ordering more of these molds. I used to really, really like candles, but now that I'm doing wholesale, I'm like, I don't like candles anymore because it's what everyone wants right now. it's like it's a blessing and a curse. So anyways, taper candles, those are a lot of fun. I guess this is me showing them off. I don't really know why I have so many photos of taper candles. Also, I do not recommend doing the twist ones. Everyone wants to buy them and they're horrible to make.
So you've deleted that from your repertoire?
I have not deleted it yet, but I really want to. I really want to. People keep asking me for them though, and I'm like, okay, fine.
So you charge a little more for that?
Yeah, I do charge a little more, but now I'm like, man, I should just even double that price.
So what's so hard about doing the system?
So the molds that we have with the spirals, because they're a spiral, like you can't just pull it straight out. So the molds cut all the way down the side. So you have to use probably like,
So it's kind of like a
yes,
two-piece mold.
almost.
You put together and you pour it in.
Yes, and so you have to do probably like 10 or 12 rubber bands up it, and then it's each one. So when you get used to pulling out 8 at a time, and then you have to go to like one twist, it's just really a mood kill. So
Well, all the candle molds, like the other ones, they're split too, so you gotta have rubber bands around them, so.
yes,
you're gonna
but
have to
some
do it.
are a lot better than others. A lot better than others. You'll understand sometime. It's not fun. Yeah, and then when they leak out everywhere. Okay, so flavored creamed honey, we kind of already talked about that. Hot honey.
Since I got it at Sriracha.
No, close. Habanero and cayenne is what we went with. There's so many versions out there, but you know, Mike's hot honey's done with chilies, so we didn't want to do that. I almost want to put not made with chilies on our label. So
You get asked if it's made with chili.
yeah, all the time, yeah.
You just want to say, read the label.
Yeah, no chilies. So another thing with value added, your photos, right? Especially if you're doing social media, website, whatever. Like, this is obviously a picture of our honey, but does it give you an idea of what to do with it? Some of it can be like subliminal, right? Like, okay, we all know hot honey is delicious on pizza, but like maybe someone hasn't thought of that. And so to have a multi-purpose photo where, yeah, you're showcasing your product, but also giving them an idea of what to do with it, most people are like, oh my God, I want to go try that right now. So then they'll buy your honey just to go home and try it on pizza.
Or in their whiskey.
Or in their whiskey, yeah. And same with like how to use it. So this is a lotion bar photo. For this photo specifically, I wanted to like showcase that not only is it lotion, but like it helps with keeping tattoos look fresh and bright too. So that was kind of the purpose of this photo. But, you know, show uses for everything. That honey butter one was before we started making our own honey butter to sell, but gives people an idea. I mean, it's kind of silly that I even sell as much honey butter as I do, because literally you just take some honey and butter and you mix it together, but people don't want to do that.
They don't want to do it.
Yeah, they just want to use it. So it's a convenience thing for sure. You know, that's another.
You gotta keep that cool then, honey butter, or is it?
Yeah, we do refrigerate it. I did not put that you should like refrigerate on the label, because I thought, well, people are weird about their butter and like some leave it on their counter and some don't. But I did learn that it molds fairly quickly on the counter, so probably not great. So when I revise my labels, I'm going to be adding that. So with the flavored creamed honey, that's another thing we get asked all the time. What do you do with it? Like for specific flavors. So these photos, again, help, and every jar has a QR code for recipe ideas. So that's a selling point too. When I tell people, they're like, well, I don't know what I would use it for. I'm like, oh, well, I have hundreds of recipe ideas waiting for you. So
You're like us, though, we don't know how to use QR.
no, and that, I totally get that. Thank you. You've transitioned me into I have hard copy of recipe cards as well. I used to do a lot more of these, but they are expensive, right? To like have hundreds of different cards printed out. So I do try to show people how to use the QR codes, or like I hope it's kind of catching on, because even this is pretty generic card that we use for a lot of things. I put this in every single order that I ship out or every order that's picked up, and it just says the Holton Homestead, Elkhart, Iowa. Our honey's pure and simple from beehive to bottle. Thank you for supporting our small business. And then it says scan here for recipe ideas and more. So this kind of replaced all of these other things, and it's a thank you. And grocery stores sometimes use it as a shelf talker or whatever, right? It's just like a nice multi-purpose.
One card,
Yeah.
multiple uses.
Yes. So although I think this is great to have these, and like this is really great when we do gift baskets or things like that, because if someone's gifting, you know, hot honey and whatever else, the person getting it might be like, okay, cool, what do I do with it? Well, now we've given a whole bunch of ideas. So hopefully they use it and want more, right? We want people to have more honey. So this is great, but we were just trying to figure out how we can lower our costs across the board on things. So this was one of the things that we cut, and we transitioned to the multi-purpose card. But also, like, this is all value added as well, right? You're showing people how to use whatever. I have one for beeswax candles also, because I don't think people realize, I think a lot of people realize how like unique and awesome beeswax candles are, but maybe not to the full extent. So I'm always trying to educate where I can, especially if they're gifting the candle. You know, you want people to know why it's so much more expensive than a soy candle or a paraffin candle. And so I have these for nice write-ups. And when I do wholesale to other businesses, I always make sure to throw in some of these, because like maybe they don't know or their customers don't know. So it's something that they could put in a little cute frame, and you know, it's educational. So those I keep around. And then this was a lot of fun too. I hand these out when people buy like bigger jugs, like a 3 or 5 or gallon. It's a magnet, and it's the sugar to honey conversion chart, so they can leave it on their fridge and think of us every time they open their fridge. Plus, it's valuable information, because I was thinking, okay, how many times do you guys hand out a business card, or you receive a business card, and then what happens to that business card? Nobody knows, right? So I've really started stepping away from business cards. I do have them, but I don't really see the value in them, because like this is something that could be used, has a purpose, and they'll hold on to. Whereas like my business card's probably going to end up down the street on the farmer's market in the trash. So those are all things I'm like, all right.
Does depend on how much they want your product.
Yes, of course. But even now when people ask me for a business card, I started just handing out this. I'm like, it's big and obnoxious, but you're not going to lose it. And like, it has our photo. And I just feel like they hold on to this a little bit more than a business card. So
Doesn't get lost
as easily. Right. Or, I mean, who knows, some of the younger generation, like myself included, like I would just scan this QR code and then I'm like, all right, I've got it in my phone, and I never, like, then that's done its job.
You don't put your QR code on your business cards, do you?
No, but I think I'm slowly just getting
Just
away
say,
from them.
Buy this and you have my business card.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Okay, so some places that you can sell your product, right? Online presence is a big one. And if you are actively trying to sell your product and you don't use social media, shame on you, because that is free. And everyone needs free when they're starting a business or starting to sell something, right? So you don't need to make crazy TikTok videos or Instagram reels. Obviously, that might give you a jump start. But even having a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a way that people can see what you're doing, right? And a website is also extremely helpful. I knew from the beginning that I wanted a website because I don't want to talk to people all day long. So when they want to like message me for my product, I really appreciate that. But I just like would rather send them a link so that they can shop all the options and I don't have to answer 8 million questions. And then that also gives them like, how can they get it? Where can they pick it up? Do they want it shipped? Like every single question, it's there. So that was something I did right away. You can spend as much or as little on a website as you want. There are so many providers out there, like point and click options is what we call it. You can build, anyone can build a very nice presentable website with their system, right? They have these, what am I trying to say? They have it laid out. So all you have to do is drag your picture there or your product there. They make it very simple. Template, thank you. That is the word I was looking for. So they make it very easy for you to make something that looks very nice and presentable. And it can be very inexpensive too. I mean, as little as $25 a month, right, to sell all your stuff. So I don't want to overwhelm you with that, but if you're considering selling, a website's great. But at the very least, like, have a Facebook page. It's free, and people can find you and message you. Something else to do with your online presence, and I think this is overlooked by a lot of businesses or people trying to sell a product. People who are buying from you want to know about you or your business or like how you do things, or even the simplest thing like posting my dog. It was her birthday 2 days ago, you know, like it makes them feel more connected to you and your business. Therefore, they become a loyal customer to you and your product. And it's true, like if you know something about a person like you, or a business, like you want to support them instead of going to Walmart and buying God knows what off of the shelf, you know? So some other things, like obviously be personable. We talk about things happening in the apiary or just like whatever's going on. Right now, I have a stupid pumpkin drop, and it is all anyone's talking about. Like a few years ago, I think, man, it's probably been like 7 years ago now, we put a post out there, again, trying to save money, that we would take pumpkins after Halloween was over to feed our pig and our chickens and everything. And now I'll never be able to get away from this. I don't even have a pig anymore. And like people just, do you have your pumpkin drop open? Is it available? Is it blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, oh man, stupid pumpkins. But you know what? It gets them out to my place. They're doing a good thing by throwing their pumpkin in the bin. And then maybe they'll shop my self-serve, or maybe they'll come during store hours, or at the very least, they know where we're at for future needs. So as much as I hate the stupid pumpkin drop, like that's something I've been talking about lately because it's kind of amazing. I was gone for the weekend, pull in the driveway, come home, and I've got our bin is one of those liquid totes, like with the cages for that you can lift with your forks, but we took the bladder out, so it's just an open cage. Heaping full. Like, the people who put the last pumpkin on top get an award for best balancing act. Like, crazy.
So what do you do with all the pumpkin stuff?
I compost them, or, you know, my chickens love to eat them, but no, I don't have a ton of animals, so I also feel bad, like, there's gotta be another farmer out there who, but I keep...
I've seen somebody else post that too, I don't remember where it was, but it was in Iowa somewhere about bringing your pumpkins here to help feed their animals. And you can go pet the animals and stuff like that too, so.
It is a feel-good thing. I shouldn't be dogging on it, but man, like, we always have a pumpkin mountain, so.
But it's good, it's only for a certain time.
Yeah, you're right.
You will live through it.
I will. I always do. And honestly, Tyler's the one who has to deal with it now, so. I'm like, hey, go get your lift and move this
I
pumpkin.
do see some people post, like, well, take it out
In the woods.
in the woods and break it open
Uh-huh.
so that any animal can
Yes,
feed on it.
yes. That.
Feed the deer.
And then you have someone else who follows that comment and says the DNR doesn't recommend that. So there's no winning. Anyways, so like
Well, I would probably ask the DNR myself.
right? I don't know what to believe on social
Well,
media.
Then if we're hunting, you're in October, and you throw it out there,
It could
and they
be,
consider it baiting,
Mm.
if you're hunting deer and that.
Okay, that makes
And even
sense.
though I didn't put it there, it's there, so they can consider it baiting, so.
Okay, that makes more
The
sense.
farmer that turns his auger on and the wagon ain't there no more,
That's not baiting.
that's still baiting.
Okay, so some other things you can post online. I like to share DIY recipes and stuff. At the very least, it gets people maybe buying wax, or maybe they realize they don't want to DIY, so they'll just buy your finished product. And then post regularly, right? There's so many times I see other business pages where I don't even actually know if they're still in business because they haven't posted for so long. So try to post regularly. I try to post 3 times a week at the very minimum, but I'm a little crazy and this is our full-time thing. You could definitely get away with once a week, you know, and then like share where people can find you or your stuff available. Like those are all easy things to talk about online. Farmers markets, I'm kind of going to blow through this because we talked about this a lot already, but something that's I would say very important is, you know, make yourself stand out. So a lot of beekeepers are guilty of this. One flat table, maybe a tablecloth, and if it's there, I swear it's always crooked. And then you have like all of your jars of honey just in a row, all flat, and that's like your normal honey beekeeper table, right? So like I didn't want to do that. So I have shelves and like everything is up and down, vertical, like layers to look at. There's another rule that I follow. It's called stack it high, watch it fly. How many times do you go to a garage sale or something and they have like one little table with like 4 items on it? You do a drive-by when you see that. You don't even stop and go look at the 4 items, right? It could be like 4 bars of gold. You'd never know it, but you just drove by because you're like, oh, they don't have enough stuff. So that's another thing, like make your booth look full and welcoming. This is not actually what my booth currently looks like anymore. I now have a yellow tent and a yellow flag, and I'm going to be redoing my back banner, but how many places do you see Holton Homestead? They're definitely not going to miss that that's my booth. So that's important too, putting your name out there, like branding. It takes someone an average of 12 times to hear or read something before they remember it. So I try and keep that in mind when I'm setting up. And be engaged and welcoming. That's another huge one for farmers markets. Even when I had employees, I wouldn't let them bring a chair. And maybe I sound like a slave driver, but you need to be standing up and welcoming to people who are walking by. Like even if they're walking by and they're not even acknowledging you, I just still say like good morning or whatever, right? Because that will make you stand out compared to maybe your neighbor down the road who's sitting in a chair on their phone. Because nobody wants to like interrupt, right? Like it's a burden that they're shopping your booth when really that's why you're there.
It does make a difference.
It does.
When they're walking by and you get them to turn and talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden they might stop and buy you.
Exactly.
Other than that, they were walking by.
Exactly. And I do samples all the time, like especially at farmers markets. I'll have samples sitting out, and I'm telling you, all the time they'll come. They're just going to grab a free sample because it's free, but then they'll come back because they're like, wait, I actually really liked that flavor, you know? So that's an idea too. So another place to sell, grocery store shelves. We did talk about you can sell your pure honey anywhere, and there's not a lot of rules for you. Sometimes certain grocery stores might ask for insurance, like liability insurance or something like that, but a lot of them don't. So
Do they want like barcodes on it then?
it does depend on your place, but yeah, once you start getting into bigger, if you're not in a mom and pop shop, yeah, they probably want a UPC code. in 2020, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm gonna get into Hy-Vee, which was like so scary for me for some reason. I had to really like hype myself up. Anyways, I go in there, I sell it to the managers. They're like, great, yep, let's get you in here and delivered. I'm like, yeah, doing my happy dance in my head. And then they take me down to the accounting room and they get me put in the system. And the lady's like, do you have your UPC codes? And I was like, what? What is that? She's like, oh, the barcode. And I was like, no, I don't, but I sure will by the time I deliver them, which was the next day. So I ran home and was Googling like UPC code, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, by the time the night was over, I had purchased my UPC codes, printed them myself, and taped them to the back of the jar because I was not going to lose out on this opportunity. So yes, big grocery stores want UPC codes. And I don't buy those if you don't need them because they are expensive and a pain in the ass. So hold off on those as long as you can. But yes. Shelf talkers we kind of talked about, and easy to read, eye-catching labels. Another thing that does kind of suck about grocery stores is usually they're net 30. So you're not seeing your money for at least 30 days after you put it on the shelf, but that kind of, maybe that helps, you know, during the slower months, you have something to look forward to in 30 days. Okay. Some other things we kind of already talked about. We talked about the recipe cards, recipes on your website. Another value-added item, I didn't bring it, like the 6-inch standard wooden honey dipper. Those fly out the door. I buy them bulk on Amazon. I pay like 25 cents a piece. I sell them for $1. Everyone has to have one. People might not even buy honey at your booth, but they stop and get a dipper, so I don't know. And then good photos and demos, we kind of talked about that already, and just, you know, good information for people to use, like the subbing honey for sugar. That's all good for you. Yeah, so this was me telling you some things. I do offer classes further on this if that's something you want to learn more about. We also do custom bottling. If you have no desire to get a licensed kitchen, we will do the flavors and bottle for you. We also do like 50-pound DIY kits, so I'll sell you like everything you need to do your own 50-pound batch of whatever flavor you want, or seed starter if you want to start your own creamed honey. And yeah, so there's your QR code. But thank you guys.